Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing Palantir's relationship with Japan. And you know someone who is really famous and big in Japan, especially for their music? That guy right over there. This is the next knickknack coming into the back, which we're filling up with a bunch of knickknacks. I've been saying, what suggestions you got? Been getting some awesome suggestions. Next one is MJ. I made this decision. It is very important for the people who watch this channel to know why I made this decision. Look, when MJ died in 2009, my entire life changed. I didn't know about him when I was born. I was born in 1997, so the height of MJ was kind of over by then. So in 2009, when he died, obviously international news. The first time I heard Billie Jean, I wanted to be the next Michael Jackson. So his music inspired me a lot. If you guys look right under that as well, there's a little white glove on Scruffy. So there's like that white, that white glove that glows. People who know MJ will know what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of that. And then there's a Guitar Hero. Do you guys know what this is? I want to show you guys this real quick. This is, I don't know if you guys have seen this before. This is the OGs who were into music and wanted to be rock stars. You would plug this into your Nintendo DS, and you would basically be able to play Guitar Hero, if you guys know what that game is, on your DS, and it was really, really, really cool at the end of the day. So, yeah. So we're going to get into one of the main articles that I wanted to talk about today, which is this article right here. This is an article that was covered by a Japanese media company, and they were basically doing a profile on Palantir. So as you can see right here, in 2019, Palantir Technologies, here in Japan, referred to as Palantir Japan, was established as a joint venture with Sompo Holdings, and its introduction in Japan is expanding rapidly. What is Sompo Holdings? Well, Sompo Holdings is one of those companies that is a prime brand in Japan, just like State Farm or Allstate Insurance are prime in the United States, and in other companies or other countries, you probably have different companies that are these prime insurance brands. Sompo is one of those ones, right? So they do a lot of insurance packages in real estate, in agriculture, aviation, constructive energy, financial services, healthcare, etc. So they have a big, big brand in Japan. And as a result of having that big brand in Japan, they have a lot of data and a lot of customers and clients that need to be able to integrate their data into some type of software. So that's why this partnership made a lot of sense. That's why they ultimately adopted Palantir, and that's why they invested very heavily in Palantir as a result of having all these companies that produce all this data that they need to be able to insure. Now, the Palantir Technologies head of technology, James Neal, had a quote that said, "Since its inception, we have been maximizing our focus in features such as privacy management and data protection. By continuing to meet the needs of defense and intelligence agencies for security, stability, and transparency from the beginning, it is possible to provide private companies with the same level of security as governmental agencies." So the idea is, well, if we can actually provide companies and governments with the same level of security, governance, protocols, etc., then we could potentially become a very, very big company internationally as other companies or as other countries recognize that the companies in those countries are using us. So for example, Sompo Holdings is one of the largest companies in Japan. If the Japanese government is looking at the largest companies in the world and the products that they're using, so for example, the United States is looking at the largest companies in the world and they're like, oh, everyone's using AWS as the backend for their infrastructure to be the digital backbone for their cloud services. Why don't we adopt AWS? Why don't we just figure out what how maybe AWS is a useful partner for us? And that's how a company truly becomes a stakeholder within the world, and especially within the nation that it's in. If the biggest companies in the country are using it, then the governments get involved because like, well, maybe we should use it as well. So in the context of what Palantir was actually able to do in Japan, we have here that, let's go a little bit further down. So this is Mr. Katsuyoki Ohara. He's the head of growth in Palantir Japan. And he says, although it is often said that Japanese DX is late, there is a huge amount of complicated data acquired through advanced design and engineering in the Japanese industry. It is exactly Japan. It is a treasure trove of real data. With Foundry, you can consolidate these data in one place and make sure your company's decision-making makes sense. Now, this is what I was going to talk about. The signs are already showing. In November 2021, just about 5-6 months ago, Kanagawa Prefecture, saying that wrong, I'm sorry, but that's a prefecture, that's I think how you say it, which is just like a municipality in Japan, built a system in Foundry that integrates and analyzes data such as the flow of people, vaccine rate, number of medical treatments, number of infected people, number of hospitalized people for corona response. In the past, there were dozens of types of database introduced to support corona, each of which was separated and generated a large amount of data every day, but it was consolidated into one thing using Foundry. And we know this makes sense because Palantir did the exact same thing in the UK. They got a $34 million contract with the NHS in order to enable the digital transformation of their vaccine and supply chain and logistics infrastructure into the cloud and specifically into an operating system like Palantir Foundry. Now, they have a high track record in the world, was also working with Sampo Holdings in the context of Palantir Japan. The reason for creating a joint venture is that Japan has a wealth of data. Sampo, which is again one of the biggest companies that has all that data, and Palantir will work together while a business model that makes use of this has not yet been created. There is a possibility that it will be possible to create solutions that were unthinkable in Japan and disseminate them to the world. This is one of those things where you want your company to be aligned philosophically and practically, even if there's not a true business use case with another big dog. I mean, if you're aligned with Sampo, you're going to get them to invest, you're going to get them to feel comfortable, you're going to get them to have business dev deals and business partnerships. And when that happens, there's a much more stronger opportunity for that company to actually be able to expand. Now, a couple more things. Palantir Japan will provide Palantir Data Mesh from 2022 this year. Data Mesh is based on Foundry and can integrate data from data warehouses, data lakes with unstructured data and other legacy systems. The biggest feature, and I heard about this last week and it was so interesting to kind of learn about this, is a pay-as-you-go price. So it supports data migration to Data Mesh for free, and there is no storage usage fee for the storage destination. Basically, Palantir is going to be covering the sort of AWS cloud computing costs for the storage of the data, but you're going to be able to pay as you go for these Japanese countries for data mesh, which is the integration of the data into the Foundry operating system in and of itself. Now, Palantir's normal deals are about $5 million, $8 million on average. So instead of having to pay an $8 million per year, contract, you can maybe sign up for, $100,000 for a couple months and kind of see how it goes, or $200,000. And so you can actually work out a deal. The more data you use, the more you pay, which doesn't lock companies into a contract and makes the sales cycle phenomenally more simple. Because it's like a subscription, right? If I have to pay an annual subscription, I have to think twice. If you let me pay monthly, then I don't worry about it because it's only $10 this month. James Neal of the company said, providing data mesh in advance in Japan is based on our desire to deal with more Japanese countries. Try to work in the Japanese market and proceed step by step. I found that many organizations think that it's necessary to continue. I believe that this data mesh will support the modernization of the data infrastructure of more Japanese companies and bring about change. Basically, they're saying, look, Japanese countries don't want to pay a lot of money up front because that's just not how you do business there. Which means if that's not how you do business there, we're not going to do business in that way, but we're still going to close these deals because why wouldn't we still try to get clients? Now, this is the Palantir Japan homepage. I went through this website earlier. It's pretty much the basic Palantir website that we probably know if you just go to palantir.com, and there's a image of Tokyo here. But the big important thing I wanted to talk about is here. Sort of the news that they've had with Japan over a while. So this is 2019, established a joint company started to provide big data analysis software. Fujitsu and Palantir Technologies Strategic Alliance. When was this? Let's open the link to that press release. This was 2020. So this is early 2020. This is 2019, 2020. The Japanese government considers the introduction of AI for swift policy decisions. Again, Japanese government, Palantir, AI. You see sort of a cohesive narrative there. Launch of safe and healthy real data platform by Sampo Holdings and Palantir. Wejo partners with Microsoft, Palantir Technologies, and Sampo. Wejo only got the deal with Sampo because of Palantir's relationship with Sampo. Palantir is invested in Wejo as a SPAC. That's why Wejo wanted Palantir to invest, because it opens opportunities and doors to transform the future of connected vehicle data. New partnership between Palantir and DataRobot accelerates the agile demand forecasting models. Started efforts to accelerate measures against new coronavirus infectious diseases. This is the prefecture we just talked about, utilizing data by adopting Palantir's software foundry in the Kanagawa prefecture. I know I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry. And then AWS Japan, how to help Palantir Foundry build and deploy AI-powered decision-making applications. Palantir's relationship with AWS, very important, because AWS is international. They are also in Japan, and if Palantir is in Japan and there's an integration there, that makes sense. And then announcing a new pay-as-you-go model to support DX promotion for Palantir Japanese companies, a major U.S. data platform. This came out last week. This was published by CNET Japan. And again, pay-as-you-go is just, it's meaningful in Japan because look at this. Free storage, no minimum charge set, no user restrictions. All you have to do is get set up, and then the more you use, the more you're going to be able to pay for it. So the reason I kind of wanted to bring up this entire topic in the first place was because Palantir's success is going to be highly dependent on their ability to expand internationally, especially in a world in which they are valued on their growth, particularly their growth in the context of governmental agencies, which we know that has to increase because it was flat over the past year, and their commercial revenue. Now, growing commercial revenue is great in the United States, is great in the UK, is great in Canada. We know those places they can grow. If they can itch out strong growth numbers, 30, 40, 50% year over year in other individualized countries by themselves without taking it into the holistic view, That's going to make the holistic view even better. And in the context of earnings, when you have all these strategic partnerships, for example, their partnership with Hyundai Heavy Industries in South Korea, that's a big one. They're building an entire platform with them, very similar to the Skywise platform they built out with Airbus. These are small deals in the grand scheme of things, 20, 30 million bucks. I think Hyundai HHI was worth 25 million. It's not going to move the needle for Palantir. The question is, are you building the foundation to be able to take over all of South Korea? Are you building the foundation to be able to take over all of Japan and be the backbone for all of the governmental agencies in Japan, which there are hundreds, and all of the companies in Japan, and this new pay-as-you-go model? That's kind of the idea, right? Let's say they don't want to pay, let's just give them what they want, and let's start developing a relationship, because over time we know how much they're going to use us. And so the relationship with Japan is going to be very important in that respect. They're developing a relationship with the UK very closely. Palantir is trying to get a $313 million deal from the UK for their NHS data overhaul transformation. And then it's a question of what other countries can they get, because if they can get more and more countries, in addition to the fact that they're not working with Russia and China, so they need to have countries that are democratically and philosophically aligned with them. I think with Palantir, you don't only get the company, you get the country. You don't only get like a company, you get the government, because the software is so powerful. It's very difficult for a government to just let the companies use it, or for the companies to just see that the government's using it, and there not to be that, organic conversation of, hey, maybe we should like try you guys out and see what's going on. Which means I suspect a lot more companies in France, Germany, and the UK are going to be using Palantir because of the Russia-Ukraine situation and Palantir's expansion into European governments like Lithuania and Poland. Now it's a question of if governments are going to react and respond to that as well. So those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave in the comments what do you guys think about Palantir and Japan and their international expansion, and still have to fill up this row of knickknacks. So let me know what other suggestions you have to fill up in the background. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and leave your comments for Palantir and Japan. What do you think? Good partnership? Makes sense? I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.